Hello everybody. In this video, we are planning to finish our project's application. You remember we already did the whole component for the backend. We worked with the authentication flow in the front end, where we have the registration, the sign in. We protected the route for the endpoints that we don't need. And now if we actually log into our app, let me do one of the many fake accounts that I created. We can land to the projects page. We can see with the delete avatar, with the email, with the sign out, and everything in the flow is actually working. Now there's two areas that are still pending: the actual projects page and the project details. When I'm thinking for the projects page, I want to have like a really big card, probably. Like it will be like a landing empty project when you don't have anything, and you have like a plus button somewhere, and then you click that button and you start seeing like mini cards for projects. When you click one project, you will see like the details on the top of the project. I'm thinking have the add form right there, so we can just add tasks whenever we want, and then we have three different buckets, and we can have those buckets horizontal, vertical, whatever we want. Probably I will do horizontal right now. Just try to simplify it, but of course you're welcome to change that anytime. And then whenever you click, those cards will have like a buttons to change the statuses, and when you change the status, it will automatically call the API to do the change and then reflect it in the UI. That's what I'm planning to do here. So for that, I already have my backend. As you can see, I have my backend and my front end running. So let's continue working. One of the cool things is that the most heavy lifting we already did. We have or the main buttons and the form fields that will be used. And we also have the use async to have the try catch for any async function that we try to run in our API. We also have the wrappers about the API itself because we standardized the way that the front end works. So we have the wrapper here that will work through that particular responses and format that we already have defined in the front end. That's actually, this will help us a lot. And we reuse that along here. So before we actually start, I would like to do some constants that I want to work on it. And then we do the stores. Right now we just have the authorization store. We need to add the project and the task store that will do the full CRUD elements that we need before we start moving forward to the front end views for our project space. Right now it's empty at the same time that the project details is empty. So let's get started. Let me go in my library folder, new file. Let's call this constants. And this will be something really simple. I will export my task statuses, and those will be used to do, in progress, and done. Simple as that. But as you can see, don't look, those work fine for the backend, for like send those on the database and everything, but doesn't look that good at the front end. So I want to do also tag statuses labels. And this is a simple mapping of to do, to be, to do, in progress, to be, in progress, and done, to be done. Now, having the status keys and then labels in a separate object. Um, I know that I'm not moving to the translation part, so we can have our application in multiple language, but that's a basic function for those. where you have different keys or tokens across your app. Well, tokens is not only for AIs right now, but you have like a specific keys, and then you have labels in different languages, and you render the labels object depending on the language that the user selects or you identify they have in the browser. That way you can have a multi-language application. But it's something similar like this. This is just like a foundation. I just wanted to say that I don't want to go through that process, and I don't want to talk about that. I think it's a little overkill for this semester, but I just want to leave it out there in order to understand how translation works a little bit. Okay. So with the constants here, we have the statuses for the task per se, right? Now let's do our projects store. So let's go to the hmm, open the site. I don't know why it was not able to remove it. New file, and let's do projects. And we need to import the find store from Pinia. We need to import red from view, and we need to import API fetch from our library API. Then export const use project store equal to find store, and we have that one right here. Then we give it the key of projects, and then the function with the state and getters and everything that we needed. So the first thing that I'm thinking, we need to have a list of projects. So we can do just a simple const list. It will be our empty reference. That will be an empty array status. We have const loading, reference false, and const error, reference of null. And then we can start making the different endpoints. So the first thing that I'm thinking is async function. Let's call this fetch all without parameters. Whenever we call all the projects, we need to first have our loading to true, and then our error to null. So we're calling, we need to initialize that, and then we can do the try catch for trying to do the catching of our application. So here we do try list that value will equal, and we do await, and you know why I put it inside the parentheses. This is asynchronous. We need to await or do our API fetch. Our API fetch we call our project endpoint. Remember that our API is already pointing to the API endpoint, so we just need to call the project endpoint. And we need to see that authentication is true. I'll pretty much call it. If this fails, we need to, instead of assigning the error, we just assign the empty array that we unit pretty much initiate it. And then we can catch the error. I think we can have the space there. And when we catch it, we need to say, well, our error, that value, it will be the same as error, and we throw it. And doesn't matter if it works or not. Oops, like here we need to remove the 0. And here at the end, the only thing that we need to do is finally or loading dot value equals false. Okay? So our synchron function to create just make the API call. This is the one that will be used at the first time that we call the endpoint, right? Now we can do the rest of the one that we need. Let's say, for example, create will be something like this. We just call projects the API phase for the projects, and we send the authentication through the body the payload that we send it to the function, and we do the method pass. And then we list value push that particular project after this works and return the project per se, right? We can do the same for the update. Would be very similar. We just call the different endpoint, API fetch projects ID, method patch. We send the payload, the true, and then we just look that inner local list value. It's like our catch, and we just update that value per se. We do the same for remove through ID, call it, method delete, and then remove it from our list. Like it's a copy of the API code that will help us not to do calls every time, just uh, reflecting in our local state object. And get bar ID, very similar. And then we can do just a reset if we need it, just to set the values and the errors to null, just to have it out there. And we need to return everything. This will allow us to have our call or store for the project per se. In this order, we should be able to call it and do all the transformations and things that we need to do in our application for the project per se. And let me just separate this letter just to have that separation here. I will be doing something really similar with the task. And for that, I will not writing all together. Let me just do a little more faster and I can explain what it is. You can pause the video or you can see the source code, what it actually has. Import the same, define the store, the reference from view, an API fetch from our library API. We do the list loading error. And the difference about the current project, because remember that tasks are bounded to the project per se. So we have an extra element here. Fetch by project. We don't need to fetch all the tasks. We just need to buy a specific project. And we send the project ID and we call that in our endpoint to call the task. The same. Cache the error, throw it, or finally load it. This is pretty much what we're doing here. Create does the same with the project ID. Everything is bounded. Update, we don't need the project ID. And we change the list values. Async function for remove and reset just to have everything emptied out. And then we just return everything. And this will handle the whole API elements of our application. Right? So after this, the things that I'm encouraged to do is let's actually go to our projects page and let's start doing some really cool changes out there. I will be importing before actually, well, yes, let's do it through there. Let's be importing a bunch of elements for script setup. Let's go do a script setup. And let's import a bunch of elements that we'll be using right here. Like what I'm doing, you say, what is that? Well, we need the for view, the unmounted. That's the hook that will run whenever this page is going to be mounted. We'll be using reactive and reference. Then from Pinia, we need to change our Pinia stores to reference. We use the use title from view US core. We import our button and form field. And then we'll be creating a project card that we'll use in a minute. We'll create this in a minute. After that, we just use the project store and use asynchronous for our application. That will allow us to have our projects on the title, use the store with a different element, and we use a couple of elements here. Show form and editing will be a couple of reference that we'll be using. And then for our form will be a reactive name and description. This is the form to add a new project. And then from use asynchronous, form loading error and field errors from use asynchronous, including run, having those called, open new, is editing value equal null when we open a new project. Description that we must empty out the add form element. Open edit is a little bit different. Is when the form is going to be loaded, needs to be loaded with the project that we actually send through. If we cancel out, well, we just remove the show form and then the submit for adding or editing. It should be something like this, right? Editing, depending the editing value, if true or not, we need to update and we need to create. That will be the difference and the one that will be showing in the run form person. Then on delete, we just send a simple Windows confirm. We can do something better. We do a specific cool window, but we can use this one for now. And we can always start to remove the project specifically. And then unmounted, we just fetch all the projects from our project store. Remember that project store is the one that we have. mm, where? Let me see where we actually look here. Store, use project store, right? So those will be the elements through here, and then we can start working in our UI. Right now, this is still working because we didn't do a change on the UI. So let's start doing some really cool changes right here. What I want to be doing is, let's change this to do a main element and let's close it. That will be, it will be center out because out of in the margin X will the full width with a maximum of 6 XL. That is around 1152 pixels. Flex one element with uh, margin 5 on X and margin 10 of Y. And then after that, we can do a simple header about what we need to have in there. So that header, let me copy this over and just paste it right here. It's just a simple header that has the word dashboard out there in a specific font, and then like your projects, and then we'll get how many projects do we actually have, and showing that if it's the length is one, it will be project in singular or projects in plural. It's just like a random thing, like keep shipping, keep doing, you got it, like simple text to call that. And then we have the open a button with open new that's just hiding, and it has just to create a new project per se. If we see those, this will be like here, dashboard. This is your projects. I have one project with that particular user, and it says keep shipping, right? Now we need to start loading those up. Let me sign out. Let me create a new account. This should not have anything. There you go. And because this one don't have anything, I have zero project, right? And I have all this information pretty, right? This button will open the add new project form that we'll see in the next section for our application. So let's actually work on that. This will be the interesting one. So let's see. After our header, I want to have a section. Let's keep it as an empty for now. And this section will be only if we click show form. Remember, when we open new, show form value, it will be true. When we open edit, show form value will be true. So whenever we click that, this is a section that will showcase the add-in form that we need to have. For those, we have, let's do just a simple class, right? This came from our CSS file and the car one, and we do padding. I don't think nothing show because it doesn't have content yet. And after we have that, we can have something here. Let me show you this section. A simple div with new project text or edit project, depending if we are editing or not. So we're reusing the same part, and this probably can be sent in a new composable added, but I wanted to show you how it works here. So forget about this, just the classes per se and the text. But I'm saying the content. If my editing is true, it will say edit project. If not, it will say new project. And then if I'm editing something, we'll see which the ID of the one that I'm editing. If not, we'll say that is a draft for a new one. So if I click here, the new project, and it's a draft. That's pretty much what I'm saying here. It's pretty neat. Just having that particular one going through that. And then I can do have my form after this particular div. And this form, and we need to do a change here. I think I can change this to simple background danger off. There you go. And you just a form. Submit is unsubmit. And remember, unsubmit will do, depending if I'm editing or not, which one is going to be executed. And unsubmit, and I lost it. Here we go. Here. We have the form fields for name, form field errors, show it here. And the one for description, a paragraph that have any error message. That's the one that will be sending if something missing or failing, right? And then we have the buttons with as a variant goes for cancel, if we need to cancel, or the one to submit. that will be saying if it's editing, it will be saving or creating, depending on save changes or create projects, depending the form loading element per se. This is a nested if else. So if the form is loading and it's editing, it will be saving. If it's loading and it's not editing, it will be creating. Right? If it's not loading but it's editing, we'll see save change. If it's not loading and it's not editing, we'll see create project. So right now, you say create project. We have the different fields and we just push it in order to save that one. Let me get back here and this should be refresh it. That's it. Create a new project. We can do cancel and that should be working. And we had a little cool animation out there for this element. We will test that when we finish pretty much the page. So we have the form. Let's go after section and I want to do a simple loading state that we'll not be able to see yet. So this little loading state will be here. And we'll say loading, and when the list is bigger than 0, this will be showing there like, well, projects have been loading. That's it. So this should never appear because we have 0 projects. That's why it's right there. Now, what I want to add here, if there is an issue, I want to that issue to be shown right here too. And those will be pretty much for the error sections. So we have the loading, but we can do another paragraph with if there's an error and the list length is equal 0, you know what, there's an issue fetching something, right? Like the backend is not working or whatever. Like that will be right here showing for the error message. And then what other things that I want to do is the empty state. The empty state means if everything's working, it's not loading, but it has 0, is to showcase only when you don't have any project per se. It's a really good way to showcase or to tell the users, like, hey, you can start creating a project, do it right now. Like, try to motivate that person per se or the user in order to start creating things. And this will be only show it if my list length is equal to 0. I will have a card. That card you have here a little SVG that you will see in a minute. And that one you just create your first project to start organizing tasks and tracking progress. And and another button for create projects with the open new. We see that is like a little big card with the plus button. Nothing here yet. Just letting the user know that there's nothing there. This is your empty state. And we create first project right here. The same way that we can do it through here. Just we given options to the user where they need to create that project. Now we are putting this in the same page. Another way you can do it like a modal, or you can move to another page if you need to. But I think the user experience a little bit better when everything is reflected right where the user is. So this is what it does, and this is only apparent when we have 0 projects. If I think now, and let me go in with the A, I think this is what the email, I don't remember. It has one. They have one project, and I'm not able to see the empty state because A has one project there. But the new one, we call it new. I don't remember how we call it. It has 0 projects, and we can see the nothing there yet. It's just a nice way to see or to produce here, right? And if everything works, I will have like another div, and let's close this one. This is just a simple BLs. That means if I don't have anything to show, I want to put like H1 for now. Show me the price. It's just a little thing to see whenever we have projects. So let me sign out and let me go with A. Show me the projects. That's where we start listing the projects. And what I'm thinking here is have like a little card with some details. And when you click the card, you will see the details for that project. So for that, I think we can go and move forward with the project card. So let's do this. Contacts actually for more for tags, so probably we can keep that out for now. So let me do this one, just the project, and I will create it projects store. Let me select my task and then just do created task store and projects page is main projects page view. Hmm. We have most of those and we keep it the constant because the one that will be used for our particular task. And for that, we can move forward. We have a couple of errors. I can see right here. Let me try to fix those. Oh, and delete is not showing yet because that will be used in our project card. When I'm thinking the project card, we have delete and edit emit activities. And whenever those happen, we open edit or we click on delete and we do it. So it will be some um, emissions that the project card will have, right? And we'll be bringing that from my project card component. So let's go to my component. Where are my components? Right here. And let's do new file. Let's call this project card.view. Let me bring from my projects page just this one. It should be empty. Okay. If I import this now, I'll call it here. I think it could be self-closing. Cool. It should not, you say like it's empty. I cannot import an empty thing. That's okay. Let's do a simple template and put the H1 there. Mm, didn't like it. Show me the projects to do, projects page, project cards inside the BLs. I was thinking this should appear. Oh yeah, right here. Show me the projects. Perfect. Everything is titled one more time. That's pretty neat. So that will allow us to do a couple of stuff. Um, what else we can do here? Uh, oh, I was about to let me get back and do some changes that I think is still missing. Let's go back to my nav menu. Yes, right here. So we have the store already done. So we can call this up and we can have those used after a router. But for that to work, we actually need to import stores. What we're telling here is whenever we log out, we just reset the task and the projects from the object. That's what we're saying here in order to make it work. So we can push the down menu, update it, log out to reset stores. Cool. Let's go back to our now to project card. Knowing that this actually showing here, we can now work with the layout. Okay, so the first thing that we need to do here is let me go back and let's do a script setup and let's do what we need to have. What I'm thinking here, if I need to send the specific project, like this will need to be sent as a prop because we know what to render. So we need to say, you know what? I need to send you a prop of a project, and the project is an object, and it's required. We're just telling Vue how to handle it. And we need to tell that, well, you will emit um, two actions, edit and delete. And depending which one you click, it will emit, and then this guy in my projects page will react accordingly. So what I'm thinking here is let's do an article. We just have that context. It will be my card hover with some elements inside and a specific router link to be the full article per se. You say like this article will render and will be a router link that will have um, pointing to my project detail um, with the parameter of the project ID. Absolute, that means it will take the whole base. In set 0, it will inside and will be rounded inherit. That means it will be the same rounding as the car percent. So we created a link that will be pretty much across the board in our element. And just the URL label to say open project with the project name through here. So we say that have that really big empty thing that's not doing anything. We can go back to our projects card and to our projects page. And in our project card, we can start sending a couple of elements. I think we can do here. It will be for how many projects I have. Oops, project in my list. Oh, well, we can call it projects, but we call it list here. And we can say this, well, so you will need to have a key. So the key will be my project.id, and I will send you a particular project. And the project is the current one that I have in my list. And then I can say whenever you emit edit, open edit, and whenever delete, I will do the on delete function, right? That will remove the errors from our project page, and that will allow us to have right here, you can see in the lowercase, that is try to go to projects 8, because that's the project object that we're sending here. And it's pretty. So we can start now with the project element inside this card, we can start adding the components that we need. So let's go back to the card. And we can do here as after the router is something like this. So I'm thinking, let me copy this over. It's a little big, but I will try to guide you through the process. It's big because I have a couple of SVGs there. So we have my super project, and those are the SVGs for the edit and for the delete. And I will show you what they do. Cool. So let me go back to the top. So I have a big div. Let me just write reduce. So we have a div with two wrappers. The first one, what it does is like the mini header. We have the project name. Then we have a project description, has description. I show the description. Remember, description is optional. If not, I just show no description. So it's still using the space and show me if there have a description. Show me the description. If not, show me there is no description. And that will be this one and this one through here. Cool. The second wrapper, I will have a couple of buttons. Those are custom buttons that I will not be using anywhere else. That's why they are here. And one of them will emit the edit, and it have that SVG, and the other will be emitting delete and have the other SVG that I took for that little pencil and that little trash can. Now, what happened here? Those are hidden by default. And what we're telling here is a couple of things. I'm saying that this button, the rounded, is showing where it needs to be shown, transition color, and I have my border is the same color, and I change that to border strong to showcase whenever I hover over. And those are there. On the top, we can see the opacity is a 0, and I transition the opacity. I'm going to do group focus within, the opacity is 100, and group hover, the opacity is 100. That means by default, those are like hidden, even they are there, showing there, but with opacity 0, you cannot see them, and you will be able to see them whenever the focus are in this particular element. That's it, right? So that's pretty much what it's doing, this particular one. Cool. And what I would like to add at the end, it will be just like a little footer, probably, that will let us know which project ID the one has. So in order to have that, I think I can do something after this one. Yes, I'm pointing here. Just to let the user know, show the project ID, we have open that particular one with a SVG that we show it. So yeah, right there. If I click this, I will go to my project details page. Oops. Let me go here. Let me go back. And I'm going to my projects. You can see that I'm in my project. If I click it, and my detail for that particular project that is his through here. And we'll do some validation after the fact, but this is pretty much what I'm doing. If I click edit, the same form that we had before, the draft changed to the AD, the text changed this one, but this will be populated. So I can do super project here. And let me remove the description and save the change. And that just get populated and changed. If I see my endpoints call, this is my backend running, you can see right here that I get my projects and get my projects 8, and then I do a patch to my projects 8. And it just works. We can see everything that we'll be doing, and it's been working the way it's supposed to, right? It's been calling it and been doing it. Cool. So I think we have the project card done. Let's just play around and do another one. Let's call this other one. Hi. create it. Right one is there, ID of 9. If I delete the other one, it will say like, you want to delete it? Yes, I want to delete it. Okay, and we remove that. We can do like a better version with a different pop-up probably, not instead of using the one that the browser has. But um, I just want to have this part done, and I think that will take longer time in this time of the semester. So we use that one for now. But you can see that we're able to add it. This updated to 2. We're able to delete it, and we're able to edit without any issue because we're using the particular element for the store. So that will allow us to do project card, and I say implement the project card, and that will make almost done everything that we need to do in our project section. For last one, what I want to work now is on my project task percent. And here let's go to the project detail page. And on project detail, we use a bunch of elements that will be required on the top. Let me bring my whole setup. It's actually a little bit bigger and show you what I'm talking about. So we will create the task item 2. Let's keep as it is for now. So we use from view, we have computed, mounted, reactive, reference, and watch. This is important to change the task according to the project that we're moving forward. That's really, really important. And then we can say, you know what? I need the store to reference from Pinia, router, and use title. As always, we import the button, the field, and the task item, which will be a component that we're working on. Then we use project store, use tag store, use asynchronous for more composable, and then we import our constants that we created at the beginning for tag status and tag status labels. The project detail will read the ID as a prop in order to provide it because we're pushing that ID, and we'll tell it, well, use a router because we'll be using back and forth if need to. Project store, use project store, tag store, use tag store. Um, List of the tasks and task loading from store to reference from the task store. My project is empty by default, loading is false, and error is null by default. We change the title. If projects have a value, I put that one as the project name and projects on my top of my header and with the word project per se. This is pretty neat. Not working because I still need to fix this. Let me just try to save it. Probably it's work. Yes, if I click this, I have it broken right now. I think cannot do it because you still have yes. That status labels, it doesn't have an export. Constants. Status labels. Yeah, it does. So that means I'm importing the wrong one. Oh, I have that one in singular. Oh yeah. Can I click it now? Constant don't provide task. It does. So it probably didn't catch it. For refresh, let me close this. There you go. Project detail. But if I go to the header, super project is right here because we are reading the project title and within that to the title of the page. That's what we're doing in use title per se. Then editing project by default is false. The form will have just name and description of the task, loading for the use asynchronous, and the rest of the elements. New task will be a reactive element for title, description, and status. It doesn't have, in the form, doesn't have the status because by default, everything will push as a to-do that we'll be sending. Run new task right here. And this part is a little more complex one. So group computed, this is what it does is get all is mapping every element for my task for groups. And for every group, it will do like a mini array for those. So for every task that I have in my task value, I will create a group for that, but like it's another object. What that mean? If I have task in to do, task in progress, and task in done, I will create those objects here, and it will group those tasks percent in this object element. And then I will list the groups in the different sections. So it's just having, it's pretty much like the buckets percent. That's it. I have another computed element that will form my stats. Just to have cool stuff here, like total, how many tasks do I have, how many are done, and the percentage will be done divided by total multiplied by 100 to see what is the percentage of this project be done. Pretty much, and this always calculated in the front end section, just with the values that we have in the backend. Load project it will the same, loading, load error nulls. Finally will be my load project to false, and we'll try to call my project store. If there is an error, the error will be sent through here. Edit, save, delete, add. Whenever a task is updated, what needs to be done? When a task is deleted, this is when the status is updated, like we just send the new status present. And on mountain, we just load the project, it needs to be called, and then from that project, we need to fetch um, the task for that particular project portion. And we need to watch my ID. This is the major part. Because if the new ID change it, we need to call it. And that's what we're doing here. Because we need to reset. Because if we don't reset and the object is there, when you click a second project, and before it's actually being loaded, you will see the information for the previous project instead of the new one. So here we're just watching that particular ID. If something is different, if it's the same, keep it. But if it's different, before anything, reset it and load the project percent. And then do the fetch by project. We're just watching a particular element. We are watching my ID that we are sending here, and then that's been sent by the router percent. And then we will be seeing if that changed, reset my store because I don't want to see the task for a previous project. That's what I'm doing. Now, where we define this one more time, let's go back to the router and let's go back to project ID. We say the ID should be a number, and we need to import that component. And in the route, we say, you know what? The params ID will be the ID. So we are sending the props according to the param ID of this component. This is the extra part. So those props are being sent through here. And then those are being set up right here. And we can use those on the watch form right here. I know it looks complex, but after seeing the UI, you will understand a little bit what it does. And this is a lot bigger, but really cool to watch and verify. So let me just change my template for the new one. And let's save it. I have an issue here. Let me just change this to my color danger zone. And I think it was the only one, probably. I have another one here. Yes, danger stuff. Oh, and I think that's it. So before I explain it, let me show what it is. We have our project on the top. On the information of that particular project, we can go back to the dashboard, right? We have the ID, how many tasks, and the percentage done. The project is not showing there because we don't have the task item element yet. We have the form to add tasks by default, always here. And we can change the status through here in order to add it. And we can set the title description, and that will be adding the path. We can edit the project on the top or delete it right here too. We able to do that element. And those are the three different buckets. So super project has one task, and that task is an in progress one. The empty state of those groups is the nothing there with that faded card. But here I will be showing the task item element that we have not done yet and be working that in a minute. The other thing that we're actually looking here is the little watching to say that the groups what it is sizing. I don't have any task done and it's only one, that means by 0%. And it's a little cool progress bar that will show in whenever we have done. It will be updated by this particular percentage. What else? I think that's it. We can edit a task in the task item, but I will showcase that in a minute. So that's pretty much what it is. So let's go back to the top to see, well, where are the different elements. So we have a main um, component that will pretty much rent everything on the page. And the first thing that we have here, let me minimize all those so I can explain little by little. It's a router link that will go to the dashboard, and I have that little arrow on the left, and we go to the projects one. So this just is this little link here on the top. Then we have a simple paragraph that will say loading project when this is actually slow. We can probably see it. We go to inspect and we go to the network tab. I can say here that let me do 3G, probably the lower that I can do. And if I refresh this, let's try loading the page in a 3G speed. This is like literally projects been loading. Okay, perfect. Probably it's too slow. Loading project right there. And it make it the call. And when that's done, call it, and then you get the task, and you can see the task get down top there. I don't know if you're able to see it. Let me try to do that one more time. So when you open the page and you call the network and put this as 3G, it will be really, really slow because we are throttling. You can see all the JavaScript files. That one is being rendered. Loading project. The project render, and then we'll see loading task. And then the tasks are rendered. That will be the process and the elements that we will be using. So that's what it has here for the loading project. The next one, if there's a loading error, there's an error with your database or with your backend, it will give you the, you know what, there's a loading error right here. That's what it does. And then I have a template. This is if loading project. This should be if there is a project. There's a project, render all these elements right here. So let me try to minimize this, and this to explain the rest of the elements. So we know that we have a project. So we'll do our header first, and the headers will be mhm, a div class with the project information. We have the project ID, the status total that we have previously, percentage done with the project name, and the different values for how to submit those. And that will be the header right here on the top. We have the button for edit and delete right here. Then we have the form. Is for the project name form field. It will be only, we have BLs right here. Yeah, so those will be only if we are not editing the project. If we edit the project, I will not showcase anything of this. I will showcase a form with the project information and to update the project, saving and save changes. So if I go okay, edit, it will change to my form. Console, it will showcase my project information. That's it. Then at the end, we have that progress bar here, and this little section. Oh, I went too far. This is the task one. This one, progress bar. It's just a simple styling with the width will be the percentage of my status percentage. That's it. You just making span the give me the percentage how we are in the progress, and then this is a div that we have a specific width that we inside this other one with the background surface. So we have like a empty div, and then we have a lower one with a style that we're moving depending on the percentage. And that's it. The add task element will be our next element. Let me minimize this to be a little more clear in how to read it. Okay. So this pretty much the header is this card out here with the edit to remove the elements and put the edit, and the console to have everything else. The add task will be this form right here. For this form, we're just telling that we have a title, it's a card, rise a card, so we have in our styling. And it says there's a form, will add task is what it should be running, and this is called the add task form or store. And we just have the form field, and I have now an option that will be created through the label, the status, and the select, and the option will be from stack statuses. And it will show my status label of that particular status. This is a cool way to have it, and that will just render those through here. And when we click the button, we'll be adding a new task. By default, say add task, and when it's loading, it will say adding. Very much. And there is an error. That error will show at the end of the form. Something is pending, something is missing, whatever things that we have there. And then the last section, we saw that the loading task had already, and it will show it only if task is loading and task length is equal 0. But if task is already load and there is no task, this will do a simple text as your first task about to get started. It's just a simple me an element to say like, hey, encourage the user to do a particular task. And we can see that. Let's go back here. Let's do a new project. New project without task. And we click it, we see that little card Not task yet. Add your first task above to get started. Say like, you know what? Let's start adding those through here. We go back and say this one. The rest will be the groups that we have here. Those groups are showing right here in the BLs. So in order to use the BLs as if, you need to be really careful about where is the level you're actually calling those. So we have this div here, we have this div here, and we have this paragraph here. So these are three direct descendants from this section, where the loading is only if task loading and task length is true and task length is equal to 0. If not, but we only have task length equal to 0, it will load this part. And at the end, we say, well, you know what? For the rest, that means that you have tasks and it's not loading. This is what we'll be showing. And for that, we just call the statuses and task statuses. And without a before, so we can do three different divs. And those divs are the one rendered here. And we say for that status label to show it. We group that for the length to see how many they are. And then we call the task item element with another before in that particular area. Task in grouped task statuses, key is task ID, update status. We update it if we need to, and we delete it, we do on task delete. If not, we show nothing there, nothing here. So this is the one that should be rendered in this case in my in progress one, but it's not being imported because it doesn't exist. That's why it's not being shown. So let's go back to the top. Let's do the component first. And let's call in here new file to we call task item.view. Let's do a simple template. Let's do simple h1. Say task show it here. And let's close the template. Go back here. We can import it now because now it exists. And we should be able to see task show it here. That's the one that we need to start working. Also, the pretty cool thing is that we are already sending, as you can see through here, I need to send my task prop and react to update status and to delete. So that means the task item should emit those two activities here. Let's go to task item and let's now finish this project percent. I will just import everything and show it what it does. We import the computed, we import our constants because we'll be using, and for props, we send it the task and the updating statuses. We emit update status and delete. And then for status, I have a computed element where we define a specific get and a specific set. And this is just an interesting way. We're telling you know what? The get, in order to get the value, is a different way to do it to actually update the value. We need to set with the emit because the one to handle the update element is the parent object. I'm not importing my task store here. The one to have the task store is my project details page. So that when say like we need to do something about that. So we're just emitting the update when we need to set the status of the element. Now the chip class, you just have to do in progress, chip warning, and done chip success. All those are here in our chip section. I don't remember where we put it, right here. Chip accent, chip warning, chip success, right? So we're selling them, so are going to be custom class that we'll be having. And toggle it on is to have it, you know what, done or not, because we have an extra element, pretty neat, right here. So we have the progress one, and it's here in progress here, right? That's what we have there. And the toggle done, we also have, if we click this, it will go back to done automatically. So we have another toggle done extra function there. For template, we have a list element because we know that we are inside order list. So task item is a list element. And for those list element, let me just minimize this to explain what it does. My button, it has, uh, it's a toggle one, and it says marked as done or marked done. It would be pretty much this one over here. And it had a little SVG regarding that. That's pretty much like the key. Only if the status is done %. So this is just for area. But right now, what we can see is just a little box that we're doing. So it looks like a checkbox, but in reality, it's a button. It's just a really cool trick out there. So if we click this, it changes my project to done, my task to done automatically. And because everything's reactive, we can see now everything is done. My progress went to 1 of 1. Cool. And it has the little chip out there. Really. If I remove it, you go back to do. And again, let's move to in progress and to move it to in progress. Let me get back to see those elements. So this is just for the little button on the left. That's this one over here. Next element. We have the task title and task description. And that's it in a column way. That's why we have the title and description. We can add another task. This is our longer description that need to be added to the task. Let's add it, and you can see right there. We have the title and that one out there. And for the last element will be the right part. For that, let me just minimize this. We have a little label. Well, we have the little chip with the chip class about the status. And that's the one that we see right here or right here. We have a select statement, a select that will be this pretty much, where we see by default will be the current ID task status, right? For the statuses. But the cool thing about this is before S in statuses class big surface, I want to show where we need to move forward. So the model is for the status, and this is the table if we are updating. What does that mean here? We go back to see the status model. Is what we say right here. We get the prop of the status of this particular task, and we emit when we set it, when we change it, we emit it. That will allow us when we do something like this and change it, we send to the parent, you know what, there is a update, and the parent that is the details page will say, let me do the back and forward for the API and make it work. So if we go here, we can see it that we patch for task number 9, right? If we send this one more time to do, it went to task. Oh, he pulled it. API task. He do the refresh. My token went down and it went back and forward for my task age in order to post it and do the particular refresh. But cool. It worked, right? And that showcase how this actually been updated or not. And then we have that little delete button that only show when we hover over the card. That will be right here. A little SVG for the X, and we emit the delete of this particular task. And we're telling that through here. Now, there's something that I never show it, and probably should be a lot better to understand those. If we go back here, you will see that I have a view section. This came from Chrome Web Store. If you're using Chrome, you can look for view or whatever one you have. Look for the DevTools for the official one, and you install that, and it will allow you. Oops. This will allow you. Oh, come on. You can do this. Yes. To have the option for view. And here there are different components. We can see the pages that we have in a router. And this is mostly show it when we're in development mode, running locally. So one of the cool things, we can see the store, the PINIA, we can see my tokens, my projects right now, and everything. So it's a really little tool that showcase everything. We can see the timelines when something a specific event happened, things like that, right? So let me see routes, timeline, about. Let me see if I can change this from to do to, oh, in progress. It's not through here. We can see keyboard components, pages. It was simpler to see before. Mm. Oh, no recording. Start recording, components events. Right here. Let's enable it. If I change this to do, we emit the update status, and we can see the different events that happen across the board and by what component. Right? Let's do done. Update status happen. Let's console, close it. The delete event happen, and we can see those through here with the component events. Right. That's actually pretty. It's a little slower because I keep my network task, the 3G one. So let's do not throwing, so it could be faster. Let's go back here. Let's remove this one. Okay. If I change this to do, yes, that's a lot faster. To move along, and we can see the different events that happen across the board, right? We can do other update, and we can update the model value, and we can see everything that just happened here and be added, and we can see those through there. Cool. Let's just remove the tracking, and let me close this. So it's just a cool way to see how the events have been happening and how those actually being guided through the project per se. And I think with that, we just pretty much done in the projects. We have this one working. Cool. We have this one working. Nice. We're able to delete. We're able to change the done, the percentage, and everything through here. We click delete, we'll delete the whole project, and we'll cascade to do also through the task percent, and we have the different protections the way they're supposed to be. What else? I think that should be it. That will allow us to finish a project. Let's do here and add it, task, item, and page. Let's synchronize those changes to keep a record. And I think the last thing that we need to do now is to deploy our application. So the first thing, let me go back here. Let me just close my backend. I don't need it anymore. Let me actually exit. Let me close this one. I don't remember if we have the deploy here or not. If we just need to add it. No, we don't have the deploy. So let's add that from a previous project. So let me just go back, well, forward. If you like you don't remember exactly what we need to do, we can do something like cat anime roulette package JSON. This is the deploy script that we need to run, and we need to import or install the Clover bit plugin, Wrangler, and think that should be it here. And we need to do change in our bit config to bring the Clover plugin in order to make it work for the deploy section. So those are the things that we need to be adding in our my projects view app. This is the one that we changing today. Perfect. So let's do that. So let's do a simple npm install. We do Wrangler and we do add Cloudflare by plugin. Those are the only two dependencies that we need to add. And let's wait for done. Perfect. And then we can go all the way to our package.json file. And we need just to add the deploy. After format, let's do deploy. And in order to deploy will be npm from build. Will be inside that one. And we say, you know what? Wrangler deploy. In order to send that. If you want to handle it manually, you can do just npm run build, and then you can do those manually, but I like to have the deploy one here. If somehow the deploy doesn't work, run this manually and run this manually after the fact in your folder directory. I can see that here is already my Wrangler and my Bit plugin. Cool. Then go to Bit. I just import. From here, let's do import Cloudflare from Cloudflare, and this actually should be Cloudflare. Cool. By Bit, sorry, plugin. And then we can use this one right here after in our plugins, just after the one for the Tailwind itself. And I think that should be it to what we need. Okay, let's add all those. Added deploy. Cool. Let's sync it. And now we can do a simple npm run deploy. Cool. Yeah, I have an is a typo there. There you go. Fix typo. And let's run deploy one more time. Let's do it. Easy the build. Now doing the deploy. Going up there, here and there. And give me it deployed to. Oh, forget about this. Okay. I don't like that basic template thingy. You know the way it's supposed to be. In order to change that, let's go back here. Let's go back to, well, something that I mostly never do is change the README. They need to change accordingly to the project what it does. But also, I forget about this one. So this actually called my projects view. You can put whatever name you want here. And let's make this version because it's in beta, right? Let me save those. Project name. And let me see if that will be enough to do another deploy or not. Yes, my project view right here. Cool. Now it's pointing where it's supposed to be pointing. So if we open this, let me copy this. And we go out there. Now we have our project application. There's a couple things that still need to be fixed now. Now that we have the URL, we need to give that to our backend secret. Like this is the course where you will get in the calls. And my frontend need to know how to execute that particular and where to go for that particular backend. So we need to do a couple of changes in this deployment to work. So if I try to create an account, this will fail miserably. Yeah. I don't know why you want to connect. Oh, you try to do the local host thing, probably. But yeah, it fails to fetch. So that's the part that need to be corrected. And let's do that right now. So in order to make that work, we have in our application the env file that we are not be sending pointing to our local host. And this is the general one, right? And because it's the only one, is the one that we use across the board in the app. Well, because we have a bit application, let me show you the modes for the bit itself. So by default, the dev server runs in development and the build runs in production. So we can have a specific file for env.production, env.staging, env.test, development, whatever. And we can define those to run into a specific mode, or if we need to change it, or we can just create the .env and the .env development. So far, the only things that we have here is the .env in general. So we can change this to .env.development. We go to the git before doing something else. Let's go to git ignore and let's do a start here. We are not sending any env, but let's do something like .env.example as not, because that one should be added. So we can create another one in our main file. We can do it through here, I think. No, here, add new file, .env.example. That one is there, cool. And we can do another .env.production. So the example, what it has is just to have it something like this. We will send to a repository what type of variable or environmental variable we need in this application. That's what we're saying right here. We know that the ignore rules will not send the development that is pointing to our local host, and our production using the same variable will be pointing where you have your REST API deployed. Mine is right here, my project REST-API that I think is there or not. Oh, to verify what it is, if you don't remember, we can go to Cloudflare directly and found it. Let me log in. Oops. Let me log in out screen. Give me a second. Okay, so here I can go to compute, workers and pages. I can see this is a template that we can delete it through here. Well, probably I'm getting out. So project recipe I right here, and this is my URL. Let me just copy this and put that one right here. Yeah, and save this. So I have my production one, my example is empty, and my development. Let me create those. Updated EMB. And now, because of that, um, we will be sending instead of localhost, we'll be sending the production one URL. So let's do, and instead of doing the deploy for those who didn't work, let me do npm run build. So, and then do wrangler deploy in order to proceed those. There, uploaded, and project view right there. Why did project view again? Oh, no, it's all right. I was thinking the template. No, this is the one that need to be done. So if we see that right here, we can go to workers and pages, my projects view. We can open this up. If I create account, failed to fetch, but not giving me any option now about contact local resources. That means it was able to see that out. If we inspect this, we go to the console, we see that we have an issue regarding the origin. It's been blocked because the access control for our backend need to be updated to allow our front-end application to call it. So this will be really, really simple to do. The first thing that we need to do is just select our main URL without the ender, just that part. This is where mine is deployed. Yours will be a different one. And we can go all the way back to here. Workers and pages. I think we have the REST API. And we should be away. We have the domain, binding, rate limiter, secret. I think we need to add a secret somewhere. So let me find where that one is. I think that will be hidden settings. Okay, variables and secrets. Cool. We have JWT secret. And probably we didn't add it. Let me see. Let's actually see our backend code. Let's go to, let me close this and let's go to GitHub. Because I was thinking that we probably added, but probably we didn't. REST API, source, the index one, the one that handles the rate limited. Okay. The course right here. Use course, origin, allow it origins. I think we didn't send them. Oh, interesting. So let's see how we can actually change that particular one. And I think those one were in our source code. So let me go right here to go to my project REST API. Let's open this one. And I think we have it right here in the Wrangler file. This is the one that I changed it for my limit to be bigger. We should have uh, the variable. If not, we did it in here. Oh, yeah. Okay. So we did through here. And we did the allow it origins. So what we can do now is just send a new secret called allow origins and do it through that in order not to have the env variables in the Wrangler file. So we set up the GWT secret, but we didn't set up the allowed origins. Cool. Let's go back where we're supposed to be here. So we add a new one. It's a test one. Allowed origins. And the only origins that I want to have right now will be this one. I don't want to development to call my production. So I have that one. The value will be that. And the value should be according to this with a simple comma with a forward slash. So let's change this and remove that forward slash. That should be add variable. Oh, no. That should be it. Allow it origins and deploy. We have that one out there. Cool. That will, in theory, allow it to see that one. I think probably we need to redeploy our backend. Well, let's see if this was enough to make it work. We can, that one go to my projects page, deploy. Let's do create account one more time. And it worked. Cool. Now we're on our backend. And let's say we create the hello user. We can identify that in my workers and pages. Let's go to my REST API, my binding for the projects DB. And we can do a simple console. Sorry, here we can do number of tables. 5 total queries. It's not showing me. That's weird. We can do explore data. If I go to users, my hello user is right there. Cool. This is my user number 3. Let's see my projects. I don't see any projects across. So let's make my user. Where is it? Right here. First project. To back end. Really cool, right? If I create this project, it will be showing right here. It's my project with ID number 2. If I get back to my database and I do refresh, now I have my project in my production database. So what that's actually pretty neat, right? We're able to also not only to fully function with the app, we're able to go back. I'm sorry, I don't have where I have my mind, but we're able to see in our development, look for or compute workers and find out the different secrets and settings. We set up those right here. If we need to allow the local development, we just need to edit this one and do comma localhost or any other page for the allowed origins, and the secrets right here already encrypted, and those are being set up for the application that we have in our worker. If you need to delete all ones that you don't need anymore, like the template that I sadly did here, I can click it. I think I can go to settings, go to the bottom, delete this particular one. We need to write the name, but we can click and paste it and delete it. And we'll delete that deployment from Cloudflare page. As you can see, all your deployments are actually right here. In my case, I see my pin example and my slides that I did for the lectures, but pretty much everything is through here. So I really hope that you like this. I think we have mostly everything done. Yes, we did everything here. Cool. We didn't need to do anything here in the code. We just went to see it. And we are able to just handle the store and pointing where it's supposed to be pointing. Now, the idea here to deliver those, and I know that this project went a little more complex than everything else that we need to do. but I want to give you a grasp of elements that you can utilize for your final projects, where you can handle your API calls, where you have your store for your CRUD elements, and ideas and designs and things, and how to make it work your front end with your back end in Clover. That was the whole idea for this one. And I think that will be the last video for the semester. I have fun. I hope that you have fun too. I hope that I was able to teach the elements of the component. As always, remember, any question, any doubt, don't hesitate to reach me. Happy coding, everybody.